Board of Education regular meeting Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 7:03. Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. Theodore? Here. Mrs. McPhillips?
Here.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield? Here. Mrs. Deck? Mrs. Lala? Here. Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mr. Tribuzio?
Here. We have a quorum. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement is the mission of North School District. District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment. That celebrates the success. And we welcome the new District 80 staff. What other success to celebrate?
I would like to celebrate, we had all of our new staff were trained on CPI. When a student is in a crisis, that we can de-escalate the situation and provide that student support. So all of our new staff has been trained on CPI, and they were all great students. So great job, everyone.
Anything else?
We just had a kindergarten play date that was really great right before the board meeting. Had a bunch of incoming kindergarten families, so it was really nice to see them connecting and starting to make some friendships already.
Thank you.
Just want to emphasize the celebration of our new staff and thank them all for coming here tonight, and hope we can take a quick picture. If that's all right with you with the board before we move on to the next section. Okay. So we will come. We try to line up right here. Take the line right here. So around 7 to like where you're okay. Oh, did you get that? So if you guys just want to come pull in around them, and behind them, or over them, not kind of like a picture of you today. I like picture. There you go. Perfect. Alexis, you mind going on that side for a little while?
Sorry, I'm not being because I'm so tall.
All right, what are we gonna say? Best school year ever? 1, 2, 3. Best school year ever! It's one of the things we worked on. All right, thank you all very much for coming, we appreciate it. You certainly are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, although I know you want to prepare for tomorrow. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Have a good night.
Action item, consider motion to approve the agenda as modified, with that modification being the removal of 17A4. Can I get your motion? Laura, Rita, roll call, please.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield? Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi? Mr. Tribuzio?
Yes, motion passes. Recognition of visitors. We have our one visitor, thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Correspondence, is there any?
Nothing to the board.
Thank you. Public participation, none, okay. Administrative reports, Starting with Superintendent, Mrs. Guzzo.
Thank you. Everything is in my discussion items tonight. Thank you.
Special Education, Mr. Masters.
Mr. Masters actually had to run off and take care of some district business tonight. His report is important.
Moving on to Building Reports, Child School, Mr. Bietti.
Well, I'd like to introduce to everyone, I know you you met her earlier, but our new assistant principal at Giles School, Mrs. Alyssa Gulo. So we're very excited to have her at Giles.
Thank you.
All schedules have been released to families. However, I do want to make everyone aware that we did make some scheduling changes to many schedules to make sure we're meeting the needs of all of our students. As I've shared with you in past board meetings, developing a schedule to meet the needs of each student and every student is not an easy task. So it takes every moment of the day, the year. So with school starting tomorrow, everything has been finalized. Students will receive a paper copy tomorrow as well, so that they'll have a new copy in their hand. Curriculum night at Giles School will be Thursday, September 5th. The doors will open at Giles at 5:15 at Anderson Hall. The presentation will begin at 5:30, and then roughly around 6:10, the parents will follow with their child their child's schedule, and they'll be able to go to each of the classes, meet the teacher, see the classroom, and also learn about the curriculum that their child will be learning for this school year. Athletics, we start right away with our Fall 1 sports. So that means we have boys softball, girls softball. Both of those sports are cut sports, which means there's a tryout. We also have cross country, which is not a cut sport. So I encourage students to come out to cross country. Last year I think we had like 82, so I'm hoping, maybe we can beat that this year. As a reminder, all students must have a current physical on file in the nurse's office, and then this year the check for these sports will be $145 made payable to Norwich School District 80. We will communicate this to all the students. This will be communicated in our weekly tracks. We will do announcements. The coaches will be communicating it, so we will communicate this out through many times, through many means. Giles School will be having a safety week on September 3rd through the 6th. We're going to be practicing our fire, our severe weather, our lockdown, our bus evacuation drill. So if you do see police officers or SWAT cars at Giles School, please do not be alarmed. But we want to make sure at the beginning of the year we go over all these drills and prepare all of our students and our staff for these drills. Our fall assessments will begin August 22nd through the 23rd with My Sabres. August 26th through the 30th will be the fluency assessment for our 5th grade students. September 9th through the 13th will be iReady reading for our 5th graders and NWEA MAP reading for our 6th through 8th grade. On September 16th through the 20th, we'll have iReady Math for our 5th graders and NWEA MAP Math 6th through 8th. All these dates are on the Giles building calendar, but I will also communicate them out in the weekly tracks so all of the parents are aware of this. And then finally, back to school PTA event is Friday, September 13th here at Lee School, and the time will be 5:30 to 7:30. We are looking forward to starting the school year. We've been planning since January, so we're super excited. So thank you.
Thank you. Lee School, Dr. Radiola.
Thank you. So as Mr. Bietti had mentioned, that all classroom assignments are for Lee. We post those on Power School, so parents are able to log in to see their teacher. We had a great back-to-school event yesterday evening here at Lee. Had a very large turnout, so it's always exciting to see everyone coming out and meeting their teacher, listening to some of the curriculum presentations, and bringing their supplies, seeing the classroom and all that fun stuff. We are really excited for the preschool playground build, and I'm sure Mrs. Guzik will also mention that, but I just want to put an additional plug in there for 7:30 a.m. Start time on Saturday for anyone who might be willing to come help out. no experience necessary, but many hands make light work. So we would love to see as many people come out to help build that playground. We are really ready for the school year to begin. We had a great teacher orientation, meeting some of our new staff that were here. We had shared some information about some school logistics. We had them participate in CPI training, and we've also been able to conduct some professional development sessions for staff over the past couple of weeks, including an I-rating training, which is focused on fostering strong mathematical conversations in classrooms, a multilingual team meeting focused at supporting our students receiving those multilingual services, and also some special ed collaboration planning sessions. So really excited about all those professional development and collaboration opportunities we've been able to provide. I think we are ready for the school year to begin. Once we do get into the building, just want to put a reminder out there that the doors open at 7:55. So really trying to stress that this year so we can work on the amount of tardies that we have overall. Instruction does begin at 8:10. We want students to be entering their classroom, putting their things away and ready to go at that time, not just entering the main entrance at that time. So we have that 15-minute time frame, so we really want to stress that this year. So we appreciate any support in just spreading the word that the doors do open at 7:55. That should also ease up on some of the traffic concerns as well, just having those few extra minutes. Similar to Giles in September, we'll have our safety drills. We do it slightly differently. As opposed to doing them all throughout 1 week, we do one per week. So throughout the month of September, we'll have all those drills completed. And really excited for the school year to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Monthly staffing report.
I have enclosed the report for the board members and board book. When we get to personnel items, we'll talk a little more specifically about them.
Board committees. Education, nothing to report. Board policy development. I had something to say. As we all know as board members, district policy is a primary focus of any school district's board of education. State law and the needs of our community call for us to be as proactive as possible. In most organizations, including school districts, you are only as good as your policies and procedures. We've all heard figures of speech like that, and I definitely agree with it for our case. There's existing policy that we need to work on, and there's a new policy we need to develop. Fitting in the discussions and the planning necessary isn't always possible in these monthly meetings. Superintendent Guzik brought to my attention the possible need to meet regularly as a district policy committee of the whole. And I agree, and I would like this board to pursue. If that means we met at each and every month, I don't know, but we put some sort of plan in place because we do not want to just be reactionary. We need to start looking at policies that haven't been looked at in a while, checking the language, updating them, developing new policy. And I think this board in particular, even in the last year, has had some experiences where we've learned very much so that policy is the crux of any district and moving forward and able to run yourself in the best possible way. So put some consideration in what the first date could be, but I think it's a very good idea. And that's my idea of that. Building and grounds will need a meeting coming up. Did you have anything to mention about that?
I have it in my discussion items, but yes, we should get a meeting for buildings and grounds in October on the calendar so that we can start planning for, there's a couple things to plan for. We'll talk about a little bit in the finance committee, but then also in my discussion items about next summer's work. We really should have next summer's work approved and nailed down by November, December latest.
Well, and I could say last year in October, November, that did happen. By that time, we knew it was going to happen this summer.
Yeah, it's a budget's another shame where we're going.
Behavioral intervention, nothing to report. Negotiations and human resources, nothing yet. Finance, we will have our 2025 tentative budget presented.
So we are going to first go over the assumptions, the general ideas that we looked at when creating the budget. Take a closer look at some of our federal and state grants. Go over the budget summary, which I put a copy of it. It'll be presented on the board, but also you guys all have a copy of it. And then there's a life safety opportunity that we'll talk about and next steps. So when creating the budget, personnel is our biggest cost, whether there are actual people or contract people. There was a time when we had contract staff that it seemed to be a cost savings. When you looked at what someone's salary and benefits cost versus the contract cost of a person, the contract person was cheaper. That is no longer the case. So when we have to have contract staff, it is costing us more and more money. So this year we have to have 2.5 one-on-one nurses, and those all happen to be contracted. We have a new 5th and 6th grade writing teacher, Sophia, who is here. She's wonderful. She's not contracted, she's ours. We're very happy. We have our student services coordinator, who's also ours. We're very happy. We also have a fully staffed PFA program from day one. So this is the first time that we've had 3 preschool teachers and 3 paras in the budget from day one. And we do have a contract position for our psych right now, which can be costly, and there may be other positions. So when you're looking at the budget, if some of the salary line items go down, it's because our contract line items are going up because we're offsetting the salary cost. On the revenue side though, for this year, our property taxes did increase over 5%. So while that's wonderful and we're very happy to have the increase in revenue, we know that this is the last year we're gonna have that. But when we do the levy in December, it won't be for over 5%, and going forward, it's probably gonna continue to go down. So we're very lucky this year that we were able to see such a nice increase. It's gonna be the last time for a while. For evidence-based funding, which is our other money we get from the state, EBF, outside of property taxes, we got them out recently. We've remained in tier 2. And we got about $37,000 in an increase. That's on average. That's what we projected to get even before it came out. That's right about what we get every single year. For grants, we're going to continue to spend accordingly and plan for the future. And for our facility projects, we're going to continue with the building improvements we've done. And we have to look for new revenue sources so we can continue to go on that path of improving our buildings. So this is really the same slide from when we talked about the first look at the budget, but I wanted to highlight some of the things that we're able to do because of these grants. Because of the Preschool for All grant, we have that wonderful playground that's going to be built this weekend. We have the fully staffed program with the 3 teachers and the 3 paras. We have our student services coordinator. And that grant is really a benefit for the community too. Because if we didn't have that grant, we may still have 3 teachers, a student services coordinator, but we would have to charge tuition to our families. So the Preschool for All grant is really the one that benefits the community as much as it benefits the district. For the school-based mental health grant, we're able to have an additional social worker. The computer science equity grant, that's Jana, who just got married, who's our STEAM teacher here. And I am so excited. I want to be in one of her classes one day. If you could see the new supplies and materials we got and this like cute little corner that's in there, they have these Lego kits. She got a whole PD on the Lego kits, a Glowforge machine. Like I want to become a student for one day to just go in her room and like play with all the materials. The Cures grant we'll have through December, so we'll still be able to offer some of that after-school programming. Cures is an offshoot of ESSER, so it is going to go away, but it goes a little bit longer than ESSER does. So while we have that, we can still offer some of the after-school programs. ESSER is ending, which we know, and we're okay because we didn't really have a lot of staff in there. The main thing we're going to have to find a way to offset this year is summer school, because we have had summer school in there. So that's what we're going to have to look at, offsetting that cost. But with we had the chillers in ESSER. So because we had the chillers in there, we were able to take other funds that we had in 60, earmarked for chillers, and spend them on some of the building improvements. That's what I think is one of our biggest benefits of ESSER, was that since we used the money on chillers, we were able to use other money on building improvements that we might not have been able to do or done so quickly. For title, when Dr. Rabiola was talking about all the collaboration we've done, that's in title. Those are in our different title grants. If we didn't have those, we wouldn't be doing all the PD that we do with the teachers. We wouldn't be able to have them coming in and working together and learning new things. It's very important to have that. And then the last two ones are building, mostly Giles Infrastructure, which is all at Giles, and then Stronger Connections are the alarm locks. I will be the first person to tell you that I don't love grants, because there are so many rules and regulations that come with them, but they're vital to us. Because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be able to do so many of the extra things we do. So while I don't love them, in order to have the budget we do and some of the programs we do, they're very important to us. So then the next page is our budget summary, and if you look, this year, at the very top row is the fund balance. So that's where we ended the school year. As of June 30th, that's where we were. It's unaudited. So our auditors have been out. They've been here 4 days at this point now, or 3 days. They were very happy with everything so far, but they haven't given us any changes. So those amounts might change, but nothing significant. When budgeting in the ed fund, which is our big one, we do have a small deficit, which I have budgeted a deficit in the ed fund for the past couple years, and we end up usually not having one. So I know it's not what we want to see and it's not what we want to do, but when looking at all the contract staff that we need and all the programs we want to run, at this point we do have a small deficit. I do also have a contingency in there, so if we even spent every single dollar that we budgeted but didn't spend the contingency, we would be okay. O&M, we're doing good in there, and that includes us budgeting for the SRO whenever we are ready to have one. So that already has that in there, and then a little bit built in extra for our summer maintenance guys that we had. We had 5 of them this summer. They worked a lot. So if they continue to work a little bit, we have that all budgeted in there already to continue to improve things. Transportation, there's a larger deficit, and that's okay. We know that. That's something we've been planning for. What happens with transportation is the majority of our revenue comes from, we do a claim, but you get last year's money in the next year. So we did a claim in August for all of our transportation for last year, and then we'll get about 75% of that this year. So we're starting to catch up with how much we had in a fund balance in transportation, how much we're claiming, and how much we need to go forward. So in the future, we might have to change the levy a little bit because we haven't really been levying for transportation. But going forward, we might need to put a little bit more in there. But we're still okay and still completely fine. Working cash is our savings account, and we're doing good in there. We're happy with that because without our savings account being what it was, we would not have been able to handle the past couple years when taxes were late. So we didn't have to go out and borrow. We were always able to take care of ourselves because we have the savings account that we do. Debt services is the bond payment, and we did move into there this year. At our auditor's request, we're gonna start paying the lease payment for the copiers out of there. So that's why if you look at it, it's a little bit more, the expense, than it has been, about $30,000 more, because it's the bond payment along with the copiers. 50 is IMRF and Social Security. That's all based on a portion of our salaries. And then capital projects is where we could see, we have a large deficit there too, but that's also planned for because we're still getting the revenue in from ESSER from what we spent last year. And we're gonna get that money in. Hopefully those grants are gonna come through, the Giles infrastructure and the stronger connections. And then we're gonna spend more than that, and we'll have about $400,000 left at the end of the year, which is still enough to go on with the projects we need in the future. But of course, we would always love more in capital so we could do more. Tort is our insurance, workman's comp, property, liability, cyber. That one is just truly based off of what those bills are for us each year. And then the revenue is we levy to match what our bills are. And then the last one is fire prevention and safety, which is life safety. And that one I want to talk about a little bit more next. So when you go out for a bond, any bond in a school district, if you're in a tax capped area, which we are, you are limited to what you can go out to bond for based on the DSET, which is the debt service extension base. That amount was set the year the tax caps were set. And then it stayed, but the very small amount it was, until 2009, then they said, oh, it's gonna go up by CPI. Well, since 2009, CPI has been very small. So the amount that we can ever go out to bond for is not that large. And it's based on that amount from a long time ago. But recently, there was new legislation that says, and it's more to it, it's not as simple as I'm gonna say it, that if you go out to bond for life safety only, that you have different rules than you have in the past. That you can go out for a bond for life safety projects outside of that DSUB limitation or outside of waiting for your last bond to clear. So at the October facilities meeting, we really need to look at what our life safety projects are. Because there's a couple steps you have to go for before you can even think about going to do this bond if it's something we want to do. You have to make sure that your life safety plan is up to date, that all your amendments are cleared, and that the remaining projects in there, that you have an accurate cost of what they're going to be. And the projects that are in our life safety aren't the glamorous projects, but they're important and they can be costly. They're like when we did all the piping last year. That was very costly. So even if you look, we have a $400,000 fund balance, oh, we could do a lot with that in life safety. Maybe not. Maybe that's one of these not glamorous projects that we have to do. But if we had a bond to do some of those, and maybe we didn't have to levy in there, and we could do other things with the money that we normally put into life safety, get items that we need to get done on our life safety list, because those are the important things that need to be done. So it's something that we need to look closer at, see how beneficial it would be for us, and see if we want to do it. But the first step is, at the facilities meeting, looking at the projects that are still in there, and trying to start getting some accurate costs of what they would be. And then, so our next steps are from now until September 19th, I will continue to monitor and change the budget as needed. September 19th, we'll have the budget hearing and approval. October is the facilities meeting to review projects and discuss life safety. In November, we will have the tentative levy, and then in December, we'll have the levy hearing. So from now until January, you'll hear from me at least once a month, but that's great. Well, maybe not, no, yeah, once a month. Did anybody have any questions about the budget or anything?
No, this is well done. I think it moves it Thank you very much. Communications, as I understand, there's another newsletter in the works. And we should see something relatively soon by next month.
Hopefully the next one.
Yeah, I think we're waiting for something from me.
Yeah.
And nothing to report from the Village Park District.
The only thing I want to touch, I'm sorry,
No, go, you go ahead.
North Park, they're hiring a new director. So I think once that is set, we should probably, and they get their feet set a little bit, maybe an intro to say hello.
I will reach out. Tomorrow night is their meeting to hire the individual.
Okay.
And then the individual is scheduled to start in September 13th. And I will reach out as soon as the person starts. We have negotiations and closed session tonight. I have a topic to talk about with Orange Park District as well. They're not.
All right, on to discussion items.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I want to formally in a meeting congratulate Dr. Raviola, who has been named one of Curriculum Associates 2025 Extraordinary Educator Leadership Collaborative members. So congratulations, Dr. They have given him this leadership award, which allows him some additional professional development to participate in some leadership opportunities, which will be interesting to hear about. You're here with that, Dr. Raviola. And actually a trip to the Educators Leadership Collaborative Summit, which I believe is in Boston. So thank you for representing us and for working with Curriculum Associates to help our students have a curriculum that meets their needs. Thank you very much. Today was our second Institute Day. Yesterday was our first. We started the morning yesterday with some district level topics. We broke in the middle of the morning for some Title IX training, which we'll talk a little bit about in a minute. And then we had building meetings in the afternoon. Today we met here and the whole district went through Choose Happiness training. And the board has somewhere to help us to celebrate and to share a couple of pictures around of everyone today. Our color of the year is orange. You'll see that orange coming out around a lot. And I have shared with you a little bit about the Choose Happiness information previously. Choose Happiness is obviously our goal or theme of the year. And what it is about is it's about looking at your life and looking at the decisions that you make and choosing how you're going to react to the things that are in your life. And you can choose to react negatively, you can choose to be gossipy and unhappy, or you can choose happiness in your life. Not everything goes perfectly planned all the time in any situation, if it's at work or at home or in anything that we're doing. So it's about brain research and training your brain and training yourself to choose to be happy. These are just some pictures from today that the teachers actually took some selfies of their groups. They're all decked out in various orange attire. And we have for the board today our Choose Happiness at Norwich School District 80 shirts that Eileen will grab and give to you, probably at the break. I think that would be perfect. So you can add that to your belief, your believe in Norwich School District 80, and of course, as Amanda's wearing today, Norwich School District 80 board member shirts. It was a great day, it really was. The teachers had a lot of fun, I received a lot of feedback afterwards, the presenters are putting all the data together in order to provide that for us so we can see where our next steps are, because this is something that will be going on throughout the school year. So going into district business tonight, we had spoken at our last meeting, and then today in consent agenda is the official vote to move the September board meeting. It currently right now is planned for Tuesday, September 18th. We would be moving it to Thursday, September 20th. The reason for that is we need 30 days between the tentative budget, which we just did a few moments ago, and the budget hearing, which would take place at the beginning of the September board meeting. If you remember that night, that's when we open the meeting, we have a budget hearing, we listen to the public on any comments they'd like to make. We then close that and then vote on the budget and then reopen the board meeting. So 30 days is what we need. So today in consent, we will vote on that and then make the changes on all of the important documents. I just wanted to mention, talk a little bit about Stronger Connections, but I wanted to let you know formally that we were awarded the Stronger Connections grant. I don't have, so ISB does they award a grant, and then there's like a 2-week period where they then allow anyone to just file if there's any errors on who has received the funds. So I don't know the amount yet. I wrote this grant for $170,000 to cover building safety, like alarm locks and cameras. I won't know the amount until they have released it. I was a little excited last night. I tried to go on ISB around like 11:30 and the site was down, so I thought it might have been up today, but it was not. So hopefully we'll see that soon and report that out. Really excited to be able to see this opportunity, and thank you, Eileen. So September 19th is the board meeting. Sorry, not the 20th. I obviously have the 20th in my head because today's the 20th. So Thursday, September 19th. Thanks, Evan. Moving on to district business, we did hold a safety meeting with the Norwich Police Department in July, where we discussed the drills, as Mr. Bianchi and Dr. Raviola mentioned. Those are all planned. We do have a training with the Norwich Police Department and Penoyer and Ridgewood and Union Ridge in October that we'll be attending. This training is about reunification in the event that there is a time that we need to evacuate one of the buildings. So that we think that will be fun, and getting all of our language in line with our surrounding school districts, so that the police department has the same language, the fire department, when everyone comes in, they have the same language. We are also working with, obviously, Howard Heights Police Department and Schiller Park that day. Schiller Park is that next district over from us that would be called out on any emergency situations. The Norwich Police Department will be also supporting us with some traffic support. So tomorrow on our first day, we will have a police officer that we are actually paying overtime to, so they'll invoice us for this. And that police officer will be here at Lee and kind of sporadically over the next 2 weeks. So I know he's here tomorrow, but then not Thursday, and then he's here Friday, helping with the traffic and just helping parents to understand and navigate the flow. As you know, the first week of school, many people are here, and people want to be here the first week of school and walk their children to the door, and that's wonderful, and kiss them goodbye, brings a flood of new people and lots of people to the building. So if we can help support our families and getting them into routines and where not to park, where to park, and to take advantage of the drop-off lines, which I know no one's going to take advantage of tomorrow because they don't want to. They want to park, they want to walk off with their child. And as Dr. Rabiola mentioned, Lee doors open at 7:55, which means you can come in when you're ready for the drop-off lines, get in that drop-off line a few minutes before 7:55. You could be off to Giles if that is where you're going next by 8:02, and you can be done. You just need to get here early to Lee. If you plan on getting to Lee at 8:10, you're going to be late. So just get to Lee early, and then you can get off on wherever you're going the rest of your day. Parking, a follow-up on that as well. The board member had asked about parking at Giles, and if we are able to make the parking around the building that is right there in the front, school parking only. So the village has agreed and has put up signs, and I believe I gave you copies at your seats of the letters that went home to the residents. So the parking right there on Oregon is, there's a sign up that says school district parking only from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And there are passes that our teachers received today in order to signify that they are staff member here at the district. We'll see how that goes, and we want to thank the village and the Norwich Police Department for their support and helping get our teachers in safely and finding a place to be here. This also truly helps with cleaning up the snow. That property isn't the property of the school district. However, if we can get out there and get the snow cleaned off so our teachers can get in and park, that would be very valuable for us. Certainly Norwich does a lot of work in supporting us on snow days, or days that there's snow, but if we can get there, come to Lee first, get everything done here, and then go over to Giles, that would be best. We also gave all of the Lee staff the parking passes, because our parking lot here in Lee is school parking only. And that is something that we will start to enforce. So if parents are dropping off at the park district, or park district employees are parking there, we do want to remind them that they need to be out of the lot so our staff can park. And we can see what other measures we need to take. At one point, we did have a towing company on call. We don't currently right now, but that's certainly something that we can get if we need that. So Eileen and Andrea have been working very hard in getting out the shirts, the lanyards, the stickers, and getting everything together for those projects. And lastly, today on our agenda, we were looking at the parent and student handbook. There are a lot of changes in this parent and student handbook that have to do with Title IX changes. And I'll talk a little bit about those policy changes in a moment. So that isn't, tonight we're going to approve it, but that isn't going to be everything we're going to do with the parent and student handbook. We're going to be looking at it again next month as well, so that we make sure that that is as up to date as possible. Parents who have registered have already accepted and have read it, but we'll just keep updating it and sending it back out as needed. Moving over to staying with district business, we have about 30 families that are not registered at this moment. We're not sure, and that's something Tammy is working on right now, not sure if some of them have decided to transfer out of the district. We haven't heard from them, but that is a lot of families for right now. So hopefully that number, by the time this meeting is over, will have gone down. Tammy's making phone calls. We have reached out to families multiple ways. Registration this year was actually very difficult. I think that is something that I think I mentioned 2 months before, that I don't know, it's a financial incentive to get registered earlier, because when we are hit with 150 people registering the Monday before school starts, it's not, we can't keep up with that. And do a thorough job of checking everyone's residency. And that actually is the crucial time. You need to check everything. Because unfortunately, sometimes people think that that's the time that we're too busy, and they just start signing up all kinds of things that aren't needed or aren't required. And so we really have to go through each item that are sent out. That's it. New students, just wanted to mention to you that we have 82 students scheduled for preschool right now. I have been saying this for a long time, preschool is going to fill up. Preschool is pretty much filled at this this point. We have 24 children on the 27-month list that are already receiving early intervention in the state, which we pretty much, they're receiving some kind of services, if that's OT services or speech services or cognitive needs, pretty much are all going to come to us in one way or another in the form of an IEP. So we do need to keep space for those students. We have 102 students that are covered under the grant. We have availability right now for 120 children. Kindergarten has 51 full day and 18 half day, which are a little bit low. But we did not replace or hire a fifth kindergarten teacher this year, so we're good numbers in kindergarten, 18, 19 kids in a room, which is great. We have 20 new first graders, which is not uncommon. What we are finding is that our program, our half-day program, kindergarten, $2,800, which is actually very affordable, but parents are finding that they can spend a couple $1,000s more and get that 6 to 6 coverage. So they end up going somewhere else for kindergarten and then come back to us in first grade. So 20 new first graders is quite a bit. The rest of the numbers pretty typical for a new year, except 8th grade. Just bring your attention to that. 12 new 8th graders that are registered. Mr. Biecki, where are we right now?
About 140.
148.
Well, hold on, I'm sorry.
I think it might be like 142.
I'm sorry, it's 141.
141, thank you. But that is a very large 8th grade class, not something that we predicted was going to be that large. Typically, when you do your predictions, which we do in January, you just take a look at, the numbers you have now, the numbers that would be moved up. 20 new 8th graders is a large number. I'm sorry, 12. So we're keeping track of that. I think together that's 230 some new kids. Of course, some of the preschool and kindergarten numbers could have been with us up here in preschool previously. Looking at policy tonight, as I alluded to a couple of things. Policy 115, which you have the red-lined copy version in board book, it is minor language, footnote changes. Nothing in that had stuck out to me as something that we needed to have extensive conversations about. However, you have at your place tonight policy 116 on paper that just came out. So 116, if you've been following anything on Title IX in the news, Title IX is a federal law. And there are many states, I think the number is up to 28 states, that actually have filed a federal petition to stop Title IX changes. So this is one that we're going to spend a little more time with, which is why Mr. Tabuzio mentioned that we need to take a little more time and look at policy. And not just these press policies that come through that keep us legal, but also looking at existing policies that there's some language that when we read it, we're like, oh, we didn't realize we had that language, let's go back and change that. In the past, I'll be honest with you, we don't have a current binder of policies. It all is online, although it's a good idea to have a binder of policy. But binders of policy, are very large, more than one. Policy is work. It's a lot of work. But I think it is worth our time to read through them and see if there are any changes we need. From our legal team right now, we are receiving that news that we should go forward and look at 116. Illinois has not filed a petition against Title IX. They don't expect Illinois to. But that doesn't mean that at some point above us that this regulations will be changed. So they typically, when they put out policy like that, they want us to be very strict on handing it out, reading it once, reading it twice, and passing it. They're telling us to take a little more time on this one. At this point, they're saying maybe December to have it finalized. So take it today, read it. Next month, we'll go into more in-depth with it. We have two policies tonight that are district edits. So one way to change policy is to have press come through and change it to keep us legally with things that are happening in the world. The other way is for the district to read policy and say, well, that's not our policy. That doesn't match what we do in Norwich School District 80. Two of those are in there tonight, 8.30 and 6.240. That we are suggesting at first read some clarification in language. One is for the process of visitors in the school building. This is just to match current practice. That current practice has been in place for, since I was actually principal at Lee, and the policy was never changed to match that. And then the other is a clarification on some field trip policy, nothing new, just clarification on following what our procedures are at this point. And then, of course, policy 116 you have at your desk, at your tables, and we will take a look at that in September. So a couple buildings and grounds updates. Summer updates, all the chillers have been replaced, as Mrs. DeBoer mentioned. Those chillers were purchased through ESSER funds. We are very deliberate and intentional with our ESSER funds so that we try not to put things that were not going to be reoccurring costs, so that once the ESSER money was gone, that we wouldn't have to be sitting here wondering what we were going to do with holes in our budget. This chiller, which is the last one right here above the gym, was put in last. They just fixed everything to start working on like Friday last week, so everything is working well with it. Classroom renovations are mostly finished. The classrooms are certainly ready for students. There's little things that need to be finalized in them. This year we did first and second grade classrooms. The east hallway floor at Lee has been replaced with an epoxy floor, matching the epoxy that is running through the preschool area, now down, starting right at the preschool, where the preschool ends, coming all the way down to where old numbers 8 and 18 used to be, where the one door went to the courtyard and the other door went out to the south lawn by the rec playground. That has all been replaced, looks beautiful. The conference room at Lee is still under construction, so we'll be running IEP meetings in the district office conference room for now until that is completed. We have cleaned and maintained our grounds. I think they have been beautiful, and our buildings and grounds staff has done a wonderful job over the summer taking care of them. We've removed the old playground at Giles and now have a plethora of possibilities of what to do with that space. So trying to look at some funding that we can find for possibly an outdoor classroom there, which I think would look really great with a nice shade structure for that area. We need a little bit of structural work there, pulling everything out, kind of laying down some weed patch and, making sure that that is kind of mitigate some of those weeds coming up, and then throwing back down some wood chips. And the hallway painting that happened this summer. We're not completely finished with it at Lee, but thank you to PTA. Oh my gosh, they got so much done that day. They were here one day and it was amazing. They started right after where the Norwich Park Preschool ended, and they did that area right where second grade is, and it was beautiful. And that's not fun, painting the little nooks and crannies in these big cylinder blocks. So it looks great. The first grade hallway has also been painted. New code base has been put in place. We had a lot of great smiles and happy faces from parents yesterday during supplies drop off when they saw the things going on here at Lee. Remind you, we are in a 5-year project. This is year 2. We just finished, so we finished kindergarten and 4th grade, 1st and 2nd. We have 3rd grade left here, and miscellaneous spaces, like the art room, some of those spaces that are going to be a little needier to get into and are going to require a different look and a little different level of furniture. We'll be doing that, and then heading over to Giles. I know that feels like we're not getting to Giles for a while, but this is all done one step at a time. It's a lot of work that's been neglected for years, and we can't do it overnight. We can't fund it overnight. So we are funding it as a step at a time, and we just keep moving forward. Continuing on buildings and grounds, again, Eileen and Andrea, I can thank them for all of their really hard work on the alarm lock system. We realized that when we brought in the alarm lock system that we really needed to take a close look at our door numbering system here at Lee. We went from 109 in one section around the corner to room 150 and then to 110. Since we were redoing all the locks, redoing all the maps, redoing everything, we took this opportunity also to redo that flow. So your child you might think they're in 110 when they're actually in 112, and we're in the process of still updating all of the maps. We have safety maps up now, everything is fine, we have routes to get out if there is an emergency. However, we do need to take that next step to put up new updated maps, which Eileen is seeing in her sleep at this point. She's been working so hard on these maps. Renumbering the outside doors as well. So we have new outside door signs coming up for windows and doors from the exterior. And they are going to be, what is the word I'm looking for?
They are going to be installed.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Reflective.
Oh, reflective.
They're going to be reflective so that they can be seen better at night. So we're updating those. Those originally, if you remember, was put in one of the first NSF projects that they did.
Myself, Kevin,
We're walking around everywhere, putting up everything. So that is now going to be all updated, and we have a lot of plans going on still at the preschool. The shed, so adorable. If you haven't seen it, please make sure you look at it. It's so cute out there. That will house all of the outside equipment. We have really cute, adorable little picnic tables for outside, and little benches, and we haven't planted little flowers yet, but we will. The fence is up so that when you come out door 7, which is the door right there by the field, if you go out to the right, there is a double-doored fence area there that will lead into the preschool area. So when the preschool children are playing outside, they're safe. There isn't anything where they can leave, and then they'll be able to play in that playground, which is being built on Saturday, 7:30 a.m. on Saturday. Tomorrow will be, we have preschool screening going on. We'll be handing out the flyers. We have the flyers being sent out. You do not have to sign up on the Sign Up Genius. You can if you'd like, but we will take every single person who shows up at 7:30 on Saturday to help us. It's a 2-part project. One part are little houses for some creative play. One looks like a fire engine, and then the actual playground structure. The company came here, I think it was Monday this week, and they put down a concrete pad. They also drilled some holes for the poles that are going to go into the ground. And then on Saturday at 7:30, many people will show up, and we will put those playgrounds up. Then the next phase would be the pouring down of the spongy materials on the floor. That won't come until the week after. We'll probably be able to open up that playground, my guess, I'm gonna say the last week of September. But that is all possible too, because of the PFA grant. We're very, very thankful for it. So we'll see everyone on Saturday. Here is the flyer that has gone out about the build. That is exactly what the playground will look like. It's 2 little houses off to the side there, and then the playground area. And that'll all be enclosed right with the shed behind it. The tricycles can drive around that little pad of the darker blue color, which actually is going to be gray. And then the little picnic tables, the little benches will be out there. It'll be a wonderful space for our students. Continuing buildings and grounds, we are looking for an October meeting date. At that point, we'll review our next steps. We'll begin planning for next summer, and then review, as Mrs. DeBoer mentioned earlier, our life safety list, seeing if our amendments have been closed out, and updating what our needs are. Community, I believe it's already been shared that the community bill for the preschool is at 7:30 on Saturday. I don't know if I said that enough, 7:30 on Saturday. And of course, September 13th is the PTA back to school event. Last month, the board asked me to provide some data regarding preschool history of numbers. So I did put that in there for your reference. So you can see in 1819, 1920, and then even a little bit in 2021, our numbers were pretty much in the 20s, mid-20s. We were running only a special education preschool at the time, which meant that we did not have students that were typical developing peers or gen ed peers in our preschool. In 2021, we opened up a blended program, which means that families can join our program on a fee-based system. Prior to that, in 18 through 21, that were only students that qualified for special education services, which is what we are required to offer, free to our families. And then you can see our numbers kind of went up. We were in 2 classrooms at that point with 52 students. The next year holding kind of strong, and that was a couple of years after COVID, so that was a little bit still difficult with our numbers with preschool at 56. 91 students is where we ended the year last year. And currently, right now, we are at 82. But that 82 really will end up in the early 100s very, very soon.
Last year, this time, where were we?
62. But also, let me rephrase that. When we started the year last year, we only had the 34 students who were through PFA. We didn't get that additional funding until January. So we were only at, in the 40s. Not very large at all. Now that we have opened up to that availability of 102 students. We didn't have anybody on the wait list last year. Now we have, I don't know how many kids on the wait list right now. And we have screening tomorrow, so it is imperative that when we change over from year to year, that families register for preschool, because preschool is a first come, first serve based on need. So, if we don't have you on your list because we haven't registered, then you're gonna miss out on a spot because we can't hold spots, we need to fill it. That's what the state of Illinois would like us to do. Future, I just have and I have it again, September 20th, I had that in my head. September 19th would be our next meeting. And that is my report. Any questions?
No, covered a lot we need to do here.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to consent agenda, I need a motion to approve 13A through 13J. I have a motion.
Second.
Leah, Lauren. Any discussion among any of these? Okay, roll call please.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield? Yes. Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, motion passes. Action items, consider motion to approve the tentative 2025 York School District 80 budget. Can I have a motion? Fanny, Marie. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield? Yes. Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Board comments. Comments from the board? Okay, closed session. Consider motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, the placement of individual students in special education programs, and other matters related to individual students, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one of the more classes of employees, and review of closed session minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Amanda, Laura, roll call please.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, motion passes. We will go into closed session at, it's 7 now, 12 after 8. 5 minutes. We are now back in open session at 10:04. To personnel action items. I need a motion to approve 17A1 through 17D2, noting that 17A4 has been removed from the agenda. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Amanda, Lauren, roll call please.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield? Yes. Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Board meeting reflection. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 10:05. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. This meeting is now adjourned.